All right, everyone, welcome back for another episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Friday, December 17th, 2021. Quad which ends today. Markets close in about 40 minutes. Market gapping down, and it's really kind of sideways. I talked about this yesterday. We'd probably have some type of a sideways session. Didn't think we would necessarily gap down, but we are basically right where we opened. And that's kind of what I was expecting a little bit here. If we take a look on the daily, you can see the diamond here, Dow Jones ETF, filled that gap. So it broke out of this. It had kind of a nice tight range going on here. And, it tried to break out yesterday, came back in, and came down, tested this gap fill here, getting a bounce off that. Let's not make too much out of it. It's OPEX. So, there's just a lot of premium burn going on. Same thing on the spider. This candle here is a fake print. So this was kind of a misprint. But we did come out down here and fill that gap. So that gap is filled now. Tested the 50 moving average. The 50's minor moving average at this point. You've already traded through it so many times. But we did test it, getting a bounce off of that. And now we're just kind of sideways here, moving into the close of the day. Russell 2000, let's take a look at the IWM because that's actually outperforming the market right now. And again, a lot of this is OPEX related, so we won't make too much out of it. But we are seeing a lot of volatility at this area, right around 215. So I said yesterday and the day before that Russell's probably trying to put in a short-term bottom. And I think that's still the case. I still think it gets, a bid off of this level at least. Ultimately, I still think it's going lower. But, in the meantime, when you see like lots of volatility after a sell-off, usually that's the market's way of telling it's trying to put in a bottom there. But, won't make too much out of it. IWM is outperforming for the day. So that is that. Let's take a look at the triple Qs. Triple Qs gave up all of, if we look on the intraday, so this is where, let's pull it back. Oh, there we go. This is where we were pre-Fed. Then we had the Fed announcement, and then sell-off reversal. Look where we gapped down to. We took out all of those gains from the Fed. So triple Qs, the weak link again. Looking on the weekly here, not a very attractive candle there on the weekly. It is holding this midline here of support, the dotted line there. So it is trying to hold on to that on the weekly, but ultimately I still think we're headed lower. Maybe, my 370 target, year-end target, maybe that doesn't get hit quite. We only have about a week and a half to do it, or 2 weeks to do it. And next week is a holiday week. So if we do have light volume, it's going to be tough for the market to go down. But, in this market, we had some light volume, or excuse me, we had the holidays last month, and that did not give us any sort of upside market. We had heavy volume during Thanksgiving. So maybe we see the same thing over the next couple of weeks. This trend line is upsloping though, so maybe it doesn't quite get to my 370 target by the year end. But in any case, OPEX here, we're holding on here. There's a few things that are starting to go on sale a little bit. Netflix is getting into kind of an intriguing level here. You have this chop. If we pull it back, this is 12 months of consolidation. So there's lots of institutional money that accumulated here in order to break this out. And that's coming back to back test that. It's probably not just going to give way on the first try. They're going to probably defend that level. So there are things that are going on sale here. A lot of stocks that have been beaten down. We talked about Verizon yesterday. By the way, I said that this would gap up to 53, gapped right up to 53.15, pulled back. And now it's, they're probably going to close it above that 52.50 handle that we talked about yesterday. So that's kind of where they want to close it to burn out those premiums. But there was a straddle there at 52, so that is playing out. Let's look at a few other areas. So Tesla kind of getting a bid here. Didn't quite get down to that gap fill. And I'm not surprised because I think everybody, well, I guess you could say it basically got there, but not to that the 900 even number, I should say. But you have to figure everybody was probably sitting right here trying to buy this. So not surprising it didn't quite get there. Maybe it gets a bounce next week and then comes down and tests it later. Semiconductors, holding up here. NVIDIA down, 0.5% here. AMD kind of flattish as well. So really just kind of a grindy kind of sideways day here. Let's move on, take a look at a few sectors. So yields pulling back a little bit. Ultimately still holding this trend line on the 10-year. And the 30-year is holding this kind of bullish inside bar here as well. So yields may, there was a little bit of risk off chatter this week, but perhaps yields resume higher in the coming weeks. Let's take a look here at the dollar. Dollar reversing. So tried to break out on Wednesday after the Fed. Then it got sold off pretty hard and now popping right back up. On the weekly, it's still holding up fine, just consolidating, just backing and filling and holding that pattern. Let's take a look at gold. So gold, also a bit of a reversal candidate, but did come in off the highs here. But nice little pop yesterday. and really just kind of whipping around here, but it is holding this trend line. Nothing's really changed on the pattern, but you know, if it starts to go sideways here, it could tell us that it could be telling us that it wants to set up to attack that 1840 handle. Silver also having a nicer day, although coming off the highs as well. So again, you want to see some consolidation here on silver, and your first test would be that 23 handle on spot silver. Crude pulling back a little bit here, but ultimately I think after OPEX this gets a bid. It's got a nice bullish pattern here. That should go up and test that 77 handle shortly. Nat gas, on the other hand, been a bit of the weaker one, and you know, I said this is going lower and it's starting to break down here, getting a little bit of a tail candle, so it is trying to hold that double bottom for now, but I think ultimately nat gas does head a little bit lower here. Currently printing an engulfing candle on the weekly, so that little bounce was short-lived, and we got in and out of that boil, which is 2x long nat gas, and that was a really good trade. We got in right at the lows and we sold right into the highs, so that was a nice trade for us there. Let's take a look at financials. Broker dealers having kind of a flattish day. XLF negative as well, again with the lower yield there. JP Morgan getting beat up again, losing this area here, so that's probably gonna have to come down. I think this ultimately comes down and tests 150 before getting any sort of real bid, but I don't like this. This looks like a bear base to me on JP Morgan. I'm not a fan of that pattern. Bitcoin, let's talk about Bitcoin really quick, then we'll wrap it up. So Bitcoin, I think, probably has a good chance to get a bid next week. Notice how it's been sold off. You know, they pumped it down for a couple weeks, and that's been in this tight range. Tried to break down a couple of times. This looks like it's just being held down into OPEX to me. So I think after OPEX is over with, maybe tomorrow, as soon as Saturday, this can get a bid and trade up to that 52 handle. So we'll see about that. But in any case here, let's take a quick look on the spiders. So yeah, more sideways action. We may get some type of a power bid or power sell-off into the close. Don't make anything out of that. That's just them closing the market above or below a certain strike price before the OPEX. So if we get some type of wild bid into the close, don't even really pay attention to it. But anyways, guys, take care. Stay tuned for the weekend video, which I'll have up probably tomorrow. That is on Wall Street for Main Street. Like, comment, subscribe, etc. And I will talk to you all this weekend. Take